Hello, friends. What happens when a tribe becomes a tradition and a village becomes the voice of a nation? The canoe now floats past lands that no longer feel like scattered settlements. The fields are broader, the smoke denser, roads emerge, ritual grounds expand, and in the heart of it all rise two great powers, the Kurus and the Panchalas. Names you'll hear again and again, not just in history, but in epic. This is no longer the world of loosely tied clans wandering with cattle. This is the age of consolidation, an era where tribes become territories and territories begin to dream of kingdoms. Let's start with the Kurus. Settled in the fertile plains around the upper Ganga and Yamuna rivers, the Kurus were among the first to truly institutionalize Vedic culture. They didn't just perform rituals, they standardized them. It was under their influence that many of the Vedic hymns were organized, interpreted, and carefully preserved. You see, the Kurus understood something crucial. Power wasn't just in the sword, it was in the word, in the ritual, in aligning kingship with the cosmic order of Rita. With the support of Brahmin priests, they transformed Vedic practices into powerful tools of governance. Rulers were no longer just warriors, they were seen as guardians of Dharma. But they weren't alone. To the east, across the Ganga, rose the Panchalas, a culturally rich and politically significant people. Often rivals, sometimes allies, they too invested deeply in ritual and scholarship. If the Kurus built the structure, the Panchalas enriched the spirit of it. Together, these two realms became the heartlands of Vedic civilization. Priests, poets, and philosophers gathered at their courts. Students came to study, rituals were perfected, and the oral traditions grew ever stronger. In fact, some scholars believe this is when the Samhitas, the core Vedic texts, began taking their final form. But make no mistake, this wasn't just a cultural movement, it was political strategy. The Kurus and Panchalas understood that controlling not just land but ritual legitimacy gave them authority over other tribes. Kings were crowned not just with iron but with incantations. A ruler's power became sacred, his position cosmic. This consolidation also led to more complex administration. The earlier tribal assemblies, sabas and samitis, didn't vanish, but now royal authority began to outweigh consensus. The king became the axis around which the cosmos spun, or so the priests said. And the people? They listened. Rituals had become spectacles. Kingship had become divine theater. But this also raised questions. How do you prove a king's divine right? How do you publicly show that his rule isn't just lawful, but sacred? That question leads us to our next episode. Because to be a king now required more than just battle scars. It required ceremony. It required grandeur. It required the Rajasuya, the royal consecration ritual that turned men into monarchs and monarchs into myth. Coming up next, kingship and the Rajasuya, royal rituals and divine legitimacy. Because when power meets poetry and fire blesses the throne, the king becomes more than just a man.